Welcome, everyone. While the 1830s revolutions were like scattered fireworks across Europe, 1848 was more like the whole continent's fireworks supply going off at once. Imagine one country's revolution triggered another and another until nearly every major European power was dealing with people in the streets demanding everything from constitutions to bread. And boy, are we in for a wild ride in what historians call the Year of Revolution. The economic crisis of the mid 1840s set Europe on fire. When harvests failed between 1845 and 1847, food became scarce and expensive, while factories shut down across cities, creating the perfect storm of hunger and unemployment. The middle class and workers, already frustrated with kings who ignored their demands for political rights, found themselves pushed to the breaking point. New printing technologies spread revolutionary ideas faster than ever before, and soon people across Europe began questioning the entire system of absolute monarchy that had ruled them for centuries. The February days of 1848 began with what seemed like a simple spark: the French government banning a political banquet, but quickly exploded into massive street protests when soldiers fired on demonstrators, killing dozens of citizens. The outraged Parisians built barricades in the streets, sang revolutionary songs, and created such pressure that Louis Philippe fled to England, abandoning his throne to a provisional government that immediately granted universal male suffrage and other dramatic reforms. The success of this revolution sent shockwaves through Europe, inspiring similar uprisings across the continent as people everywhere began to dream that they too could transform their governments practically overnight. When the French government closed the national workshops that produced jobs for thousands of workers in June of 1848, Paris erupted into one of history's first major showdowns between the working class and the middle class, with 50,000 desperate workers building barricades and fighting in the streets. The government responded with crushing force, using artillery against the workers who, unlike in the February Revolution just months earlier, now fought alone without the support of their former middle class allies. In a tragic turn that would haunt French politics for years to come, the uprising ended in a devastating defeat for the workers. With about 4,500 people dead, 12,000 arrested, and 4,000 deported to Algeria, marking the end of the dreams of a truly democratic republic and paving the way for Louis Napoleon Bonaparte's rise to power. Now, like a master chess player who sees 10 moves ahead, Louis Napoleon Bonaparte turned the chaos of the 1840s revolution into his personal ladder for power, using his famous family name and promises of social reform to win over everyone, from poor peasants to wealthy businessmen. His political genius showed in December of 1848 when he won the presidency in a landslide victory, receiving an astounding 5.5 million votes by convincing the French people that he could both bring smooth stability and progress to their troubled nation. When faced with a law preventing him from running for re election, he simply changed the game entirely, staging a coup, crowning himself Emperor Napoleon III, and going on to rule France for 22 years while modernizing everything from Paris's streets to workers' rights until his final defeat by Prussia in 1870. Now, imagine a massive political earthquake that shook Europe from Paris to Vienna. That was 1848. This unprecedented wave of revolutions spread like wildfire across 50 plus countries, making it the most widespread revolutionary period in European history. It all kicked off in Vienna, where students and workers finally said enough to Metternich's iron grip, forcing the powerful minister to flee to England. Talk about a career change. While each country had its own flavor of revolution, from Hungary dreaming of independence under Kossuth's leadership to German states attempting unification at the Frankfurt Assembly, they shared common themes: demand for constitutional government, greater freedoms, and an end to old school autocratic rule. But spoiler alert, most of these revolutions didn't succeed. Why? Lack of unity among the revolutionaries, a strong military response, and conflicting goals between the groups. Now, the alliance between the middle class liberals and working class radicals quickly fractured. The middle class became frightened by working class militancy and socialist demands, driving many liberals into the arms of conservatives. This fear of social anarchy undermined the revolutionary momentum. Ethnic and linguistic divisions also severely weakened the revolutionary movements. In the Austrian Empire, initial unity dissolved into conflicts between Germans, Czechs, Hungarians, and other ethnic groups. These nationalist disputes prevented effective cooperation against conservative forces. And conservative forces maintained control of their armies, which proved decisive. Military suppression was successfully employed across all of Europe. Now, picture this: the conservatives are like seasoned boxers who know exactly when to dodge and when to strike back. Despite the revolutionary fireworks, they cleverly united three key allies: the nervous middle class folks, traditional rural farmers, and church supporters who feared radical change. And here's the kicker: those seemingly outdated monarchies turned out to be way tougher than anyone expected. Like a turtle pulling into its shell during danger, they just temporarily retreated when things got hot, then came right back out swinging when the coast was clear. The revolutions of 1830s and 40s were like Europe's political growing pains. While they seemed to fail in the moment, they planted the seeds for huge changes: constitutional governments, voting rights, and national unity movements that would transform the continent. Sometimes the most important revolutions aren't the ones that succeed right away, but the ones that change how people think about what's possible.